Democratic Senator Arlen Specter.
Thank you. I hear welcome home. I'm glad to be home. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, Tom Herman, for those very generous words of introduction. Joan and I are delighted to be with you this morning. The chairman has outlined some of the things that I have done, both nationally and in Berks County. I've been coming to Berks County frequently since I was elected District Attorney of Philadelphia in 1965. And since I've been in the Senate, I've been here on 59 occasions because I believe it is very important for somebody in my position in a representative democracy to know what's happening all over the state so I can express your views in Washington. I make it a practice to cover all of Pennsylvania's 67 counties, and that has enabled me to be in my 5th term because I really am concerned about what people are thinking about. And I welcome this chance to get to know you a little better, to have you get to know me a little better. And I appreciate what Chairman Herman has had to say about the progressive votes that I have cast, which have been very much where Democrats have stood on so many issues. I begin this morning with a reference to a letter to the editor, which Chairman Herman wrote to the Town Mercury, and it's on the Employees' Free Choice bill, which is a very major matter pending in Washington today and a great concern. And this is part of what Chairman Herman had to say. Quote, "The Employee Free Choice Act is a simple bill that addresses the process of how labor unions are formed and collective bargaining agreements are achieved." And I agree that there needs to be federal legislation on both of those points. And I have supported, voted for cloture to take up this bill 2 years ago, reserving, as you always do, the process in Congress where you have floor debate and you have amendments. And there are a couple of very tough issues here. One is the issue, how do you form a union? Has always resorted to a secret ballot as opposed to collecting cards. If you collect cards, there is the subject of intimidation on both sides. Employers have access to the employees all the time. And one of the things that I have proposed is that if there is what we call a captive audience, the employer brings in the employees on company time and tries to persuade them to oppose a union, that the union ought to have equal access to them. And that elections ought not to dawdle and take weeks and months when pressure could be applied, but they ought to be held in a brief period of time. Tom is a member of SEIU, and we have been working very closely with AFL-CIO generally, John Sweeney, the president, and Andy Stern, president of SEIU, and Eileen Conley, to find a way to get these elections promptly decided and the union certified and still retain the secret ballot. It's no secret that Congressman Sestak is looking at a possible candidacy, and he introduced a bill which retains the secret ballot. I mention that to you only to show you that there are concerns on this issue. Now, in getting the first contract, that's been very difficult. And the bill in its current form provides for arbitration within 120 days. Here again, Congressman Sestak's bill expands that, makes some changes. And we're working to find a way where we can get the first contract, which is the tough one, so that we can get a bill passed. And it's been widely publicized that there are a fair number of senators on the Democratic side of the aisle who want a number of modifications. And we're having another meeting on Tuesday to try to get this bill passed. And as I said a couple of weeks ago when Joan and I had a chance to talk to Chairman Herman, others in Pittsburgh at the Democratic State Committee, that I think we'll find a bill which will be acceptable. But we're working on it very hard, and I know how important it is, and something that I've spoken about extensively and even wrote a law review article on. Chairman Herman commented about the stimulus package. Said we pushed it right to the edge of the table. That's the only thing I disagree with Tom about. We didn't push it to the edge of the table. We pushed me right off the table. When I voted for the stimulus package, there was an explosion in the Republican Party. And the Republicans in the House, 170, all voted no. And in the Senate, it was just about the same thing. Only the Maine senators and I would even consider it. And we had a newly elected president, a mandate from the American people, a desperate economic situation where we were on the verge of a possible 1929 depression. And I knew the political peril I had with the right wing, but I was going to take those risks and support the plan, because that's what we're sent to Washington to do, is to solve problems.
Hear, hear.
Now for a long time, I've been urged by a lot of people to become a Democrat, formally, because I voted with the Democrats on so many issues. I voted with the Democrats on free choice for women. The Lilly Ledbetter case, where the Supreme Court said women couldn't get equal pay. I co-sponsored it in the last Congress and voted for it in this Congress. Children's health coverage, S-chip, vetoed by President Bush. I voted for it, voted again early this year, and we got